In this video, I'm going to share with you the stages of financial independence. This is nothing new and there are so many versions of this, so I'm going to share with you what I think they are, and I've come up with 12. And I also wanted to say that the order of these stages may vary, in particular becoming consumer debt-free or reaching your first 100,000. This is because no two personal finance journeys are the same. Personal finance is just that, personal. The first stage is dependence. In this stage, a person's income that they make is not enough to cover all of their expenses. This may mean that they are relying on others or government agencies to make up the difference. And as always, this information is for entertainment and general information only. I'm not a financial advisor. You can read my full disclaimer in the description box below. The next stage is break even. This stage is characterized as living paycheck to paycheck. This means that a person's income is just enough to cover their living expenses without any money left over after each pay period. The next stage is budget optimization. In this stage, a person is moving away from living from paycheck to paycheck and is starting to look at ways to find some surplus cash. This could involve auditing and decreasing expenses or looking at ways to increase income. So ideally, trying to increase savings rate to at least 20%. In Mr. Money Mustache's shockingly simple maths behind early retirement, it shows that 10% savings rate is pretty much equal to a standard retirement, but the years really start to drop off with a 20% savings rate. The next stage is a fully funded emergency fund. The general rule here is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. However, this number can be personal to a person's situation and the stability of a person's income. Liz Gets Loaded did a cool guide to work out how much a person may need for their emergency fund. You start with 3 months and then add or take away months depending on the criteria. Of course, this is just a guide. Liz also has a YouTube channel that's worth checking out. I'll leave a link in the video description. The next stage is being consumer debt free. Consumer debt is normally high interest debt like credit cards, personal loans, and car loans. This stage may happen earlier depending on the amount of debt and the interest rate. The next stage is the first $100,000. Charlie Munger has famously said that the first 100K is the hardest, and thanks to compound interest, it gets easier after that, and each following 100K takes less time. I made an entire video about it, but investing $10,000 a year with a 7% rate of return, the first 100K takes 7.84 years. The second one takes 5.1 years, and the third takes 3.78 years. What I found more interesting is looking at these as percentages. It's crazy that the first 100K takes more than 1/4 of the time. I'll leave a link to the video that I made in the description. The next stage is FU money. FU money is having enough saved and invested that a person can walk away from a job or situation without having to worry about finding income straight away. The amount needed for each person may be different, so this stage could also happen earlier depending on how much is needed. For me, I think 2 years worth of expenses available is how much I would like this number to be. FU money is also similar to a financial runway. Scott Trench wrote about the financial runway in his book Set for Life. A financial runway is having enough readily accessible wealth that a person can stop working for an extended period of time. To calculate the financial runway using Scott's formula, it's accessible assets divided by yearly expenses. An example might be someone might have $54,000 in an emergency fund and $85,000 in a brokerage account that could be sold down if needed. This would make a total of $141,786 in accessible assets. The yearly expenses could be $65K, so that makes a financial runway of 2.18 years. The next stage is Coast Fire. This involves investing as much as possible, as early as possible, and then stopping contributions once you know you will have enough for retirement. Even though you won't be contributing further to the investment, it will continue to grow in the background. This then means that you only need to work enough to cover your expenses. The Fioneers have a formula for working out your Coast Fire number, and this is the one I used. I simply typed it into Excel and then pressed enter. So for us, I added in our FIRE number and a growth rate of 5%. Normally I would do 7%, but I wanted to be super conservative for this. And then we have 19.5 years until my husband is 60 and can access his retirement account. I will need to redo this number soon as someone is having a birthday. The next stage is Flamingo FI. It's a form of semi-retirement. A person works full-time until they reach 50% of their FIRE number. They then switch to part-time for approximately 10 years. And thanks to the rule of 72, with a 7% return, the investment should double over 10 years, taking the person to standard FIRE. Money Flamingo is the creator of this version of financial independence, and her blog is definitely worth checking out. The next stage is lean FIRE. There are a few variations of lean FIRE, but it is generally a person's annual essential expenses without any fun money. A very lean budget. To calculate, it's simply essential expenses multiplied by 25. And now, of course, standard FIRE. Standard FIRE is saving and investing as much as your income as possible until you reach 25 times your annual spending invested. Once you reach this goal, you have reached financial independence and may retire early, or as I like to say, work optional. So the calculation is annual expenses multiplied by 25. And the next stage is Fat FIRE, a nice fat wallet of cash. It is a person's annual expenses in retirement with plenty of fun money for travel and the luxuries in life. There's a few different definitions again, but some say Fat FIRE is for those wanting to spend $100K or more a year. So the calculation would be annual expenses plus heaps of fun money multiplied by 25. And so here they are, the 12 stages of financial independence. Where are you? We're currently working towards number 8, Coast FIRE. And if you like this video, you might want to check out my video on why the first 100K is the hardest, or have a look at my financial independence playlist. Thanks for listening. Don't forget you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. See you next week.